Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington. Now, we had to pause for Phil Berg. Let's go back now to the Obama in Moscow meetings. As I said, the Obama-Putin meeting, that breakfast meeting, was not a happy gathering. This was no love fest. Great mistrust on the part of Putin, and he's right. This is, after all, the new Richelieu. Putin, the modern Richelieu, and the most capable statesman in the world right now, dealing with this novice, this tyro, Obama, who's been given this demagogic task by the soft power gang. So an argument broke out between Obama and Putin, which is the reason that this breakfast meeting went longer than scheduled. The Russian government is now willing to have the U.S. exercise transit over the territory of the Russian Federation to deliver military supplies to Afghanistan. It basically says, if you insist on conveying yourself into the inferno, then what can we do? Go ahead and do it. Be our guest. Go ahead. The other one is Medvedev wanted a conference of nuclear states, all the nuclear powers of the world coming together in Moscow to discuss issues inherent in nuclear policy, non-proliferation, difference between weapons and peaceful nuclear energy, and so forth. Poses some interesting problems. If you have a world conference of nuclear states, would Israel, for example, be part of it? Israel notoriously about 500-plus nukes by now. But always denying it. So do they come or do they not come? If you don't have Israel at the conference, it's obviously a farce. How about Iran? Some indication they may already be a nuclear power, or maybe not. So what do you do with them? So that's an interesting point. The other one then is the Polish missile crisis. And here I would not exaggerate anything. The position now from Obama is if, and it's a big if Iran were to renounce any kind of nuclear weapons program, which they've already done, but still if, then the ABM, the anti-ballistic missiles, would not be installed in Poland, and presumably also the radar in the Czech Republic at Brunn would not go in there. So the problem with that, of course, is that's if. And I'm glad to say that Medvedev shows signs that he was not fooled. That some people were worried that Medvedev was too anxious to be liked, and that he wanted to, they might start waffling and get duped by Obama. No, apparently now RIA Novosti reports that on Friday, today, in Moscow, Medvedev says that if the U.S. now insists on having the missiles put into Poland, the Russians would go with the threat that they voiced within about 12 hours of Obama seizing the election last November with his people power coup. You remember at that time Russia said, if you put those missiles into Poland, we will match them with short-range missiles that can basically wipe out your batteries within 2 or 3 minutes. We'll put them into the Kaliningrad area, East Prussia, right, territory of the Russian Federation since 1945, meaning that you would have a counter battery capability, a very forward deployment of these short-range ballistic missiles right opposite the U.S. batteries there that would go into Poland, because nobody knows what the U.S. will put into those batteries, because they won't be subject to anybody's inspection. So they'll say, well, these are simply anti-ballistic missile things, but they could be something quite different. So that is basically, those are, I think, the three results. The transit rights for Afghanistan, the nuclear states conference, and then the supposed delay. Obama says that there'll be a policy review going on until about October, maybe, about the Polish missile crisis. Does he want to have one? This is a lot of waffling, right? This is typical Obama, right? Deception, dissembling, hemming, hawing. That's his job. Remember, he's Sir Neville Chamberlain. Sir Neville Chamberlain, one of the greatest warmongers of all time. But when you're that weak, as the British were then and the U.S. now, collapsing internally and everything that we know, you've got to pretend to be an appeaser so that you can be a more effective warmonger, because your goal is not to get yourself involved, but to play your enemies one against the other and wipe them out, and you are the laughing third party on the sidelines, chuckling, while the other ones tear each other limb from limb. Now, a couple of other things from Moscow. This last one, though, the Medvedev counter threat. We'll match your missiles with counter missiles. Close up, right? We'll put a hair trigger on your hair trigger. Obama met opposition figures. How interesting. So who does he meet? Right? Bush generally didn't do this kind of thing except for selective cases. So Obama meets opposition figures after most of the official schedule was over. He goes to the offices of Novaya Gazeta. Oh, Novaya Gazeta. This is the house organ of the Russian oligarchs, these parasites, exploiters, bandits, wild capitalists, right? The people who have stolen the wealth accumulated by the Soviet Union and turned that into sybaritic, hedonistic personal fortunes, right? The Russian oligarchs, a very, very destructive breed, and Novaya Gazeta in particular was the home of this woman, Politkovskaya, who was, of course, pro-terror. She was a great fan of the Chechen terrorists. She thought that was great. And it was clear that she was part of a stable of journalists run by people like Boris Berezovsky and, of course, Khodorkovsky. Khodorkovsky has been in jail now since, November 2003 with his friend Platon there. This was the Yukos, right? This was the guy who said, I'm the richest man in the country. I should be the prime minister. I'll organize a coup, and I'll sell the entire oil wealth of Siberia to Chevron or ExxonMobil or whoever it was at the time. And Putin said, you guessed wrong, to jail you go. So this guy guilty of all sorts of things, right? No tears shed for Khodorkovsky. So this is where Obama goes. Now, who does he meet? He meets communists. The communists, the old Communist Party of the Soviet Union, is now the Zyuganov Party. So he meets Zyuganov. Zyuganov asks him, when is there going to be the lifting of the Cuban embargo? And Obama says it's politically difficult, but I will do it. Sergei Mironov is the part of the Federation Council. He's actually a Russian Federation official. Boris Nemtsov. Boris Nemtsov is the last of the so-called young reformers, the young liberal reformers who brought on shock therapy and destroyed two-thirds of the industrial production and production of the old Soviet Union. So Nemtsov, the IMF torpedo, was also there. We'll be back in a minute.